Hi, Theta Wave with the Energy Report for September 2nd, 2013. The theme for this report is the number 2, or in numerology, the B, the K, and the T, BKT. B for choice, balance. K for kernel, as in a kernel of grain, Kernel, and T for timeline. The balance that we wish to achieve is interrupted by a global consciousness that is feeling disrupted and unbalanced and ungrounded, because the kernel, meaning the belief system that supports all the other belief systems and the reality system, has been changed, actually replaced, and it really will be a totally different reality set once it's totally incorporated. But for a while, people still feel that their sense of groundedness or security is being disrupted. People are afraid of freedom, because freedom means also responsibility, and it means that they actually have choice, which brings them out of the sense of being a victim. Victimhood is one of the core beliefs supported by the kernel that's underlying the whole old reality system. I'll just call it the third level. Some people call it third density, some people call it 3D. And that kernel of fear lends really well to victimhood, the base belief of the fear-based system, the survival-based system, is supports a lot of other belief systems that grow out of the survival-based planet, and that they're all fear-based. It's all a sense of not enough for everyone, of having to defend yourself against whatever. And it might change from being, one out there for another out there, such as, maybe the terrorists, or people from another country, as in war. And it may change to your own government or your own system that you're fighting against. But as long as it's a fight, as long as it's a struggle, as long as it's an us versus them, you're not out of the reality system with the kernel of survival at its base. What I love about this time period is this knowing that I have a choice. It's not easy to remember that sometimes. The choice is between the timelines that I choose. And those timelines are supported by vibration or by thought systems, and I should say really not so much thoughts, because thoughts don't have the strength that they need to create a reality system, but by the energy that underlies the belief system. So, for instance, if you adhere to a belief system that the sky is blue, there is not a lot of emotion attached to that, so it doesn't really have a whole lot of stickiness. Or let's just say that something more personal would be that, let's say that you are bound to end up sometime in New York. And that doesn't cause any fear or excitement in you. It just, a neutral stance. That's a neutral thought. But once you put an emotion behind it, you have a much more sticky thought, and one that is able to create a reality. A good one for that example would be cancer. You know, if you believe that you have a predisposition to cancer because of your family history, and you buy into the whole medical establishment's concept of how to treat cancer, and you know how cancer is almost always deadly unless you cut it out, and even then, you know, all of that is a very sticky reality thought that has the emotion of fear added to it. And then it becomes reality much more easily. Now, we've been doing that for a long time, and we've been actually in agreement about that for a long time. And so the level of thinking and believing and emoting in the same direction with collective consciousness has been very strong to support the dualistic or polarized version of reality, us versus them, survival-based kernel of belief. And choosing another timeline on a personal basis has been very difficult, and it's still very difficult to choose a different kernel, a different base. If you think of each one of these timelines as starting from a dot, which would represent the kernel or the belief or the thought, originating thought, and that it's, you know, as you know from geometry, that a line is two points that are connected. And so the line, if you can define a line by 2 points, but it could go out to infinity, you know, without the other point being defined. You know, having 2 points defined, then you have the direction of the line. And if you take the originating point as being the kernel or the belief, and then the current place that you are vibrationally, you have actually defined a new timeline by defining the second point. So if we say that the belief that we start with a new kernel, which has already been thought by you and by other people, that there's another reality system, one that is based upon inclusion, respect, love, what I would call fifth dimensional words, fifth dimensional concepts, a sense of unity instead of separation. If we take unity as the base core kernel concept, as the first point of that line, and then we free ourselves from the old concept and remain a little ungrounded for a little while, and then choose the new timeline, meaning that we're choosing it according to the 2-point concept, the remembrance of another reality, and the current vibration that resonates with that other reality, voila, you formed a new timeline. And of course you can do that in every instance. If you have a moment of falling backwards, so we say, you know, entering into fear, then just by allowing yourself to be there and witnessing it, you actually pop yourself out of it, and you give yourself that cubic centimeter chance of being able to switch to another way of thinking. And that other way of thinking is a choice then. Then you're choosing to go a different direction. And you're actually making a new timeline in each second. So that pivoting or learning how to choose a timeline, maybe let's say that you could visualize for yourself, say 3 at any moment, 3 possible choices at any moment. And you can actually walk up them like you would a staircase. So let's say you experience a moment of depression, which means that you feel powerless. That's, you know, it's actually blocked creativity. and you go to the next level, you say, well, I can choose to be in a more neutral place at this moment. I can choose to witness what's happening. I can choose to be present and appreciate something. And then you get to the neutral place, where in that neutral space, you can actually make a choice to redefine your environment, redefine your timeline, and then choose the one that's higher, which would of course be the one where you want to make your new set point, your new timeline, and cement it into place so that you never go back. But one of the key things to do when you find yourself going back, which is normal because you're being surrounded by a lot of collective agreement to the contrary, is to understand, be detached, surrender to the moment. All these are wonderful words. Again, remember, choosing the words that reflect the timeline you want to be in. And then you can, and then choosing, consciously choosing. So it's actually easier than you think. The thing that's difficult at this time for people like myself who are used to doing and not being is to have this trust and faith. And admittedly, trust and faith only work from the higher timeline. So let's say timeline number 5. So you're going from 3, which is non-choice, fear-based, survival-based, victimized, ineffectual, disempowered place, to the 4th, which is neutral, and where in the neutrality you actually exercise choice, you're conscious of being able to make a choice. And then finally to the 5th, which would be your new timeline, which is supported by love. And if you would realize at that point when you're in that new timeline, and again, that's like shifting assemblage points according to Castaneda, the word trust actually makes sense. The word faith actually makes sense. But trust and faith do not work on the 3rd level. Because on the 3rd level, trust and faith are conditional. I'll trust this if that. Everything's conditional. It's part of the 3rd level of reality. So changing reality in the moment, being able to pivot, being able to choose, being consistent, and forgiving yourself or understanding yourself if you fall back to the 3rd space, 3rd dimension, 3rd reality system. Being able to understand that, and that moves you automatically up to the 4th where you can actually make a choice.